What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel of TheBuffNerd. If you are a newcomer, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy the content. If you are a returning watcher and you are not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe bell so that you can be aware of when I come out with new videos and content, and so we can bounce ideas off of one another, because you guys help me out just as much as I inspire and help you guys out. Today we're going to talk about the server that I purchased a few weeks back, and the reason why I purchased this server and what I'm using it for. All right, guys, this is the server that I purchased. It is a Dell. Oh, there it is. Oh, come on now. There we are. All right, it is a Dell Poweredge R620. I got it off Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. I got it for like $300. These servers are fairly old. They're about 5-6 years old, so they're not as expensive as something more up to date. But I managed to find this one, and it came with one hard drive. The one hard drive had, I think, 900 gigabytes on it. So I bought an additional hard drive which had another terabyte on it in order to be able to configure RAID 0, 1, or 5. So when it comes to configuration, I got it configured as RAID 5, which wasn't really necessary, but I kind of just wanted to do it just to say that I've done it before and that I'm familiar with it. You gotta excuse the setup because I haven't exactly figured out where I want to put it yet, because my office is very far away from the router in my house, so I had to put it somewhere close in my dining room so that I can route it all the way to, you can't really see it, but all the way to my router. But yeah, upon getting it, I configured it, and of course I needed this monitor with a VGA cable and mouse and keyboard to do that. We're gonna go over that some other time, but what we're gonna do now is we are going to turn it on and see the magic that I've got to happen on this thing so far. One second, where's the power button? Oh, here it is. Okay, let's see the sparks fly. There we go. Oh yeah, it's roaring. All right, so we just powered on the server. It's gonna take a little bit of time to boot up, so we're gonna just talk for a minute, and then after that we're gonna navigate to the server so that we can figure out what's going on. First and foremost, what we're gonna talk about is why I got this server to begin with. I got this server for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was because I noticed that when studying for the CCNP, programs like Packet Tracer weren't really doing a lot for me. There was a lot of things that I was trying to configure. There was a lot of commands that I were trying to do that Packet Tracer just couldn't do. So I decided to look into a couple of other different platforms that I could use in order to emulate a network and actually have the ability to perform these configurations. That's one of the reasons why I purchased the server. The second is because, like I told you guys before, I was considering changing lanes and going into something more specific, or diving deeper down when it comes to SD-WAN, and being able to use use a platform in order to set up configurations, have a vEdge or a vBond and vOrchestrate, all those different moving pieces that it takes in order for SD-WAN to work properly. And from what I was told, there are certain platforms that will allow you to do that, and the platform that I'm currently working in is one of those platforms. Prior to actually buying the server, I was playing around with some virtual machine, some hypervisors and virtual machines using the VMware workstation, because if you are still trying to create a lab, but you can't afford a server of some kind, you can still use hypervisors like VirtualBox or VMware workstation on your PC, so that you can use different VMs and possibly different other operating systems in order to get a warm and fuzzy when it comes to whichever avenue that you are going down. The platform that I decided to go with, there were a couple of options, but to sum it up, the two that I decided to pay attention to most was GNS3 and EVNG. Now both of those softwares are used to lab and emulate certain configurations, or create similar networks, or mimic certain configurations and networks to see if everything will work properly prior to, you know, implementing it in a prod environment. And others just use this platform in order to lab and get a warm and fuzzy so that they're prepared for different interviews or they're prepared for whatever role that they're trying to go for. Ultimately, I ended up going with EVNG, mainly because, you know, I have a good buddy that is killing it in the IT industry right now. He's a good buddy of mine, and we've kind of been, you know, just, you know, climbing the IT ladder, you know, at the same level, and he's just taken off and become something amazing. He's a really brilliant dude. He stands by EVNG, and because of that, I was like, all right, you know what? That's the software that I'm gonna go with. To get everybody kind of on the same page, if there are some that are a little unfamiliar, we're gonna talk about the basics. So, what is a hypervisor? A hypervisor is a virtual machine monitor that is used to host different virtual machines, operating systems, and you know, create certain environments so that people can dabble around or lab in those spaces, you know, in order to complete a certain task or in order to study or in order to lab. It all depends on the person. I've already mentioned a few, which would be VirtualBox and VMware, but the one that I've been focusing on mainly is VMware because if I'm not mistaken, EVNG doesn't work well with VirtualBox. There's a couple of different flavors of VMware that you could use. One being VMware Workstation, which is something that you can install directly on your PC, and you can, you know, create virtual machine environments through there. Or if you do have a server, you would use ESXi, which is a bare bones hypervisor that can be used to be installed directly onto servers. The entire point of me doing all of this was because I wanted to get more familiar with firewall platforms, and, you know, I wanted to, you know, be able to actually, you know, dabble inside of the actual environment so that I know where things are, so that I would be able to speak to these things when it came to, you know, job interviews or, you know, just speaking about what I do for a living. The specific firewall that I decided to check out first was Palo Alto firewalls. This is a firewall that I've encountered throughout my IT career. You know, back when I was a network admin and I was real green and I didn't really know a lot, but, you know, it was a platform that, you know, my team worked with, and those dudes were professionals, and, you know, I was the rookie. I was kind of just stumbling my way through it, you know, didn't really know where anything was. But now I'm kind of gearing up so that I can potentially take the, what is it, the CCNA, which is the administrative level certification for the Palo Alto firewalls. But anyways, I'm rambling. Let's get into a few things so that we can get on the same page. So, all right, guys, so we got the server booted up, and, you know, after it's 5 minutes of humming, we're gonna access the server using the GUI on my home network, and we're going to see how I got things set up. Alrighty, so after it loads, it brings you to this page. The hypervisor that I'm using when it comes to that server specifically is VMware ESXi. That's an enterprise level hypervisor that you can install on bare metal servers. You know, VMware Workstation is the one that you can install directly on your PC. This is the alternative for servers. So this just has information on the server itself. As you can see, we're on the host tab. It has the CPU information. It has 16 CPUs, 2.2 gigahertz, and it has about, how much does it have? 64 gigs of RAM in total. The amount being used right now is not very high, but that's how much you have in total. All right, you can also come down here to the storage, and we're going to take a look at the storage and see what we got. So right now it says we have 1 terabyte local, and the reason why it's only one, even though we have 2 hard drives, is because I have RAID 5 set up, so it only recognizes 1. So we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this. Virtual machines. The only virtual machine I have installed right now is EVNG. Now it's EVNG Pro. This one costs a little bit of money, but you can get the community version of it, which is free. There's just, you know, a few limitations that I couldn't unfortunately have when it came to building labs. So I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but if you have the money to spend, I would recommend getting Pro, because Pro allows you to do a lot more customization, if I said that right, and it makes it easier to, you know, pick things apart. All right, after we click on it, it takes us here. and you know, it shows you all the information in regards to the virtual machine that you have installed on the server. I allotted 8 CPUs to this specific virtual machine because, like I said, I want to build out some really big labs. I gave it about half of the RAM that I have installed on this server at the time, so it has 32 gigs of RAM, 400 gigabytes of hard drive space, and you know, the rest of the information is just the rest of the information. No need to go any further on that. Let's go ahead and open it up. Alrighty, so the virtual machine has loaded, and this is the command line for the EVNG environment. And before we can log into the GUI, you have to make sure that you log into this. So there's default credentials. All right, the default credentials is root and Eve. Now that we got signed into the command line, let's go ahead and go to the actual GUI, or we're gonna log into the GUI from the web browser in order to see the actual environment itself. All right, so this is the environment itself, which is dope. You can log in directly from your web browser, Chrome, Firefox, whatever you prefer. And then we're going to sign in with the default credentials, which is admin and Eve. All right, make sure that you have this HTML5 console selected, because that interferes with some of the stuff when it comes to how the environment displays. All right, so it took me straight here, but let's go ahead and log out of this, close this lab real quick to go back. But this is what it would bring you to. So after you log into the actual environment, it will bring you here. It has a list of the labs that you've created. So far, I've only created one lab and a backup of that one lab in case, you know, anything were to happen to the lab itself. It has a boatload of information. It has a management tab, system tab, information tab, licensing tab. The licensing tab is the one that you're gonna have to focus on if you do have EVNG Pro, because after downloading the environment, this is where you would enter the licensing information in order to actually use the environment. But let's go to the lab that we have so far, and it is right here. All right, so here we are. So we're gonna talk about this just a little bit. So this is the reason why I bought the server. In my home, you know, I have a few routers, I have a few switches, I have a few wireless access points, but that's about it. As far as physical equipment that I have, that is what I have. I don't have, you know, some of these other things like, like wireless LAN controllers or Palo Alto firewall equipment. And this is exactly why this platform will come in handy to people that can't get their hands on that equipment, you know, that physical equipment. This is the lab that I got going on so far. Specifically, it's for, you know, the Palo Alto environment. What I have is 2 users on both networks. I have 2 Palo Alto firewalls that are connected to the 23.1.2.0 network, and they both route up to a router that goes out to the internet. And this is the management cloud. This is how I'm able to access these devices through my web browser. That's something that you will also configure. There's different YouTube videos that go over how to set up management access to these different devices, so that you can access them regardless of, you know, what you have configured in your lab. You know, that's something that, you know, we can go over at another time, but this is essentially the lab that I have set up. It is 2 different networks that have a site-to-site VPN between both of them, and they both route up and go out to the internet. Let's log into one of the Palo Alto firewalls in order to give you guys, you know, a little bit more of an understanding. All of this is inside of the EVNG environment as well, so that's the part that's really cool about this. So we're gonna go ahead and right click on that and hit start. Give it a second to boot up. All right, got the successful start up here at the top right. Let's go ahead and click on the node. Now, well, what happens sometimes is, all right, so it's loading up. So what happens sometimes is it'll open in another tab, or it'll open directly right here. You can set it up however you want. But we're gonna give this a second to load, and we're going to talk about a few things while that is loading. So once you get done with all the configurations, once you get your server set up, once you get all the IPs situated, and you know, you make them static or however you need to make them, now you're at the point to where, you know, it's like packet tracer. You know, this resembles packet tracer as far as, you know, a lab environment, and you can do a multitude of things. You can, you know, like I said, instead of just only working with Cisco equipment like in packet tracer, you know, you're able to work with Palo Alto firewalls, you know, any other equipment that's with different vendors, which is really dope. Eventually I'm going to work on getting some other virtual machines or some other operating systems so that I can implement, just different variety and makes this lab a little bit more scalable. All right, so it's loaded. Similar to the EVNG environment, you have to log into the VM itself before you can access it on the GUI. All right, we got logged into the command line. Now we can access it through the web browser. All right, so we are about to access it. It says this connection is private, of course, because it doesn't have a certificate or any of those other things. Let's go ahead and proceed. Here, now we're at the Palo Alto firewall. Let's get logged in. And boom. So this is some of the stuff that EVNG is capable of. It helps you get beyond that small scope of routers and switches when it comes to packet tracer and Cisco, and it opens up your world a little bit to some of those other vendors that will likely be on the network with you as well, which would be like Palo Alto firewall, for instance, which would probably be some Juniper devices, because you can get Juniper OSs and you can implement those into your EVNG environment. You can play around with some AWS. You can play around with Cisco Firepower OSs if you're able to get your hands on them. But that's just, the level of access that EVNG gives you is primarily why I decided to, purchase a server, purchase EVNG Pro environment, and, start getting things tailored to where I can, get in these environments and really just learn and get a warm and fuzzy. Let's just take a look at some of the stuff that's here now. So this is exactly what you would see if you worked with a company that used Palo Alto firewalls and you had to log in and make some sort of configuration changes. So far, I've got a couple of things configured. I have a few interfaces configured. Interfaces is something that you have to set up prior to, connecting Ethernet ports. Zones is also something that you have to be wary of, like the inside zone, which would be inside the network. The outside zone, you would have to set a specific interface to the outside zone. If you have a DMZ, which is, in the, let's see. Yep. If you have a DMZ zone, you also have to set that up on the firewall so that, the firewall knows what to and not to allow. You would also have to set up security policies, which of course, allows and, denies traffic that goes back and forth between the networks and goes in and out of certain zones. Also, net can be configured, and, that's a beauty in itself as well. Having the ability to get your hands on these kind of platforms and, just get a warm and fuzzy when it comes to firewalls and SD-WAN and whatever floats your boat will put you in an entirely different league, as someone who just studies the theory or someone who just reads a book. This is the hands-on experience that you and I personally need if you want to excel and, get geared up to, take a certification or get geared up to pass a certain interview or whatever the case may be. I'm going to talk a little bit about where I purchased the server. So I purchased the server on Amazon, but initially I was looking on eBay. And depending on what your budget is, like if you have a really tight budget, eBay would likely be the way to go, because they have a range of different things, man. They have servers that have hard drives already, some that don't, and that would determine exactly how high or low the price is when it comes to these different servers. Like as you can see right here, a Poweredge R620 with 32 gigs of RAM, but as you can see, it doesn't have any hard drives. So, it's cheap, but you would still have to buy those hard drives in order to, have the storage you need in order to make anything function. And if buying from eBay is a little sketchy for you, then you can go to websites like Save My Server or ServerMonkey. Let's go there and see what's on that site. All right, so here is ServerMonkey. ServerMonkey is a company that basically recycles old servers and retired servers and cleans them up and allows them to be purchased by, everyday people like you and I, or, smaller companies that can't afford some of the most up-to-date equipment. And the cool thing about this site is you can get a product going. You can choose whatever you want: Dell, HP, Juniper, Cisco, HP servers, Dell servers, and you can tailor it to exactly how you want it to look. You know, you can put as much processing power as you want into it. You can put as much memory as you want into it, and it'll be shipped directly to your house for you to configure right off the bat. So this is the reason why I purchased the server, so that, you know, I can get a warm and fuzzy when it came to the EVNG environment, and, you know, have the ability to make very scalable and huge labs. Because like I said in previous videos, you know, I was thinking about either going cloud or wireless, or going for some firewall certifications, and firewall certifications are on the menu. And just studying some book is not going to be enough to, you know, conquer one of those certifications. And this environment is going to help me get a lay of the land, so that when it comes to taking that cert, it'd be as easy as 1, 2, 3. I talk about it like it was nothing, but all of this was actually, you know, it took quite a bit of time to get all of this set up. It took a bit because first off, the server and the hard drive were, you know, pretty pricey. Also, I had to pay for licenses in order to get my hands on Cisco iOSs, which would be, you know, I think it was through Cisco Viral, if I'm not mistaken. And I got a year license so that they would give me access to those operating systems. I also had to pay for EVNG Pro, which was another license, if I'm not mistaken. It's a year license, and it was about it was between $100 and $130. So ultimately, you know, I spent maybe about $600 on all of this stuff altogether, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not forgetting anything. But long story short, it is worth it. If you are trying to progress in your IT career, and, you know, you obtain the CCNA, and you're working on either a CCNP, or you're trying to switch lanes, this isn't only for people that are interested in Cisco certs. This is for people that are interested in just about any platform that, you know, requires a certification. Because like I said, you know, the Palo Alto firewalls is nowhere in Cisco, but it is one of the best firewalls you can get a certification for. So yeah, this is essentially what I've been working on over the course of the last, you know, month or so, you know, after getting over COVID and obtaining the CCNP Encore exam. Have any of you guys purchased a server and, you know, got an environment set up, or are you using a hypervisor on your PC and you're in some sort of virtual environment, creating different labs with different vendor equipment and operating systems? If so, comment what you got in the section below, and, you know, let's exchange some ideas. Also, I wasn't really sure what to put in this video, to be completely honest, because there was just a lot of information when it came to getting all of this set up. So if you guys want me to make a video talking about, you know, getting a server configured, or you know, configuring RAID 5, or anything along those lines, feel free to comment in the section below, and, you know, I'll handle those comments accordingly. But outside of that, I just wanted to show you guys what was going on, and, you know, how you could potentially take your career to the next step by investing in a server in your home, and getting into one of these network emulation environments like GNS3 or EVNG. So that's all I got for you guys today. As always, stay safe, stay positive, get the gains, do some networking, and wait, I said get the gains already. Get the gains again.